You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, a local hero is laid to rest in Joplin.
We begin our middle of the week with some patchy fog, but we will have a nice warm-up on our hands as we'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we introduce you to a couple in Missouri who decided to tie the knot in an unusual place. All that and more coming up.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach.
Coop will be greatly missed. So I say Godspeed, Corporal Ben Cooper. We have the watch over the city, and we have the watch over your family.
Honors for a husband, a father, a hero. Funeral service at Missouri Southern's Leggett and Platt Center paid tribute to fallen Joplin police officer Corporal Ben Cooper, who gave his life in the line of duty 1 week ago. Members of the community attended the funeral service yesterday alongside friends, family, fellow first responders. And following the service inside, a ceremony was held outside, which included taps, bagpipes, and a helicopter flyover. Members of the community and the four-state area gathered along Main Street from 3rd to 19th Street for the procession.
I want to pay our respects to the police officer, service to the community, and that's just, it's heartbreaking, but I think we as a community, I think it's brought people together.
People lose sight of what they go through on a day-to-day basis. Cops see the darkest parts of people, and it's a scary thing for a lot of people to have to actually think about. And my heart goes out really to the friends and family of those officers that were involved.
You can see the entire funeral service at the Leggett and Platt Center at KOAMnewsnow.com or the KOAM News Now YouTube page. You can also see aerial footage of the funeral procession through the KOAM Plus app. Corporal Cooper graduated from Carl Junction High School in 1993, and now Carl Junction students are hosting an online auction to raise money for Joplin PD families. Items for sale include home decor and sports memorabilia from the Kansas City Chiefs and an autographed jersey from the Baltimore Ravens.
I'm more hoping that just giving back to the community, especially my dad is a police officer, so I totally understand. I probably don't understand to their level of what they're facing right now, but I've had that fear.
The auction will be on March 26th and 27th. You can find more information on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Funeral services will be held later this week for Officer Jake Reed. These services will also be at the Leggett and Platt Center. Visitation will be on Thursday from 4 to 8 p.m. The funeral will be on Friday at 1. On Tuesday, leaders from several European countries met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as fighting ramps up in the capital and other major cities. Kiev's mayor announced a 35-hour curfew. Talks between Ukrainian and Russian diplomats resume while Zelensky continues to virtually appeal for support from the West. Chris Wynn has the latest.
Kyiv under attack. At least 4 buildings in residential areas were hit by Russian missiles Tuesday morning, killing at least 4 people, according to the mayor. New satellite images show widespread destruction across Ukraine as volunteers join the effort to fight.
For Ukrainians, it's natural to protect our independence because it's independence war. And plus, definitely, we are proud to protect democratic values and principles.
The head of UN's refugee agency saying more than 3 million people have fled Ukraine since the start of the Russian invasion last month. The UN says more than half of that total have fled to Poland.
We are slowly becoming overwhelmed, and that's why we make a plea for help from the international community.
The prime ministers of Poland, Slovenia, and the Czech Republic traveling to Kyiv Tuesday to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and the country's prime minister to offer their support.
This is not a time for countries to pretend like they can stay neutral on this particular conflict.
The head of NATO announcing leaders will convene for a summit next week to discuss possible next steps. Zelensky addressing the Canadian Parliament Tuesday ahead of his planned virtual meeting with Congress Wednesday.
They already killed 97 Ukrainian children. We are not asking for much. We're asking for justice, for real support, which will help us to prevail, to defend, to save life all of the world.
In Washington, I'm Chris Wynn reporting.
The Labrador Retriever is not rolling over. The American Kennel Club says it's America's favorite dog breed for the 31st year in a row. The organization released its popular dog breed rankings on Tuesday. No surprise, the Lab took the top spot again. Family-friendly Pooch is known for its outgoing personality and eager-to-please attitude. Other top dog breeds are the French Bulldog, the Golden Retriever, and the German Shepherd. The Poodle also pawed its way into the 5th spot, knocking the Bulldog from the top 5 for the first time since 2000.
So the French Bulldog does not count as having the Bulldog in the top 5?
No, well, I mean, I have an American Bulldog. I have 2 of them.
Right, and people
they're
have English
definitely not
Bulldogs,
French
French Bulldogs. So technically we do have a Bulldog in the top 5.
Yes,
just
we do.
The French
Yeah.
variety. That really didn't surprise me about the Lab or the Golden Retriever. Yeah, I can see that. If anybody's curious, there's going to be a Boston Terrier, but more importantly, a Blue Heeler that are going to be pulling me around here this afternoon.
Aw.
Love you, Sheesh. See you soon. Live look outside of Television City. This is that fog that we were talking about in the low-lying areas. It actually has alleviated quite a bit. Earlier on, you couldn't walk out into our parking lot and see your hand in front of your face. It was so thick. So at least we're headed there in the right direction. And then as we transition to our fog tracker, we see little patches of it. We were able to avoid the dense fog advisory, but our visibility numbers have slipped. Look at Parsons right now, down below a mile. This is why I wanted to keep an eye on this, because while the gradient doesn't look too impressive, those numbers continue to dip throughout the course of our Wednesday morning. Now, eventually the sunshine's going to take effect, burn off our fog, also to lift up our temperatures. We've been in between about, say, 36 to 46 as far as what it is on the mercury. And that's actually just a tad bit cooler than what we had the past couple of mornings. Well, the reason being, we lost all the cloud cover that we had on Monday and Tuesday mornings, so we weren't able to keep all that afternoon and evening heat that we pulled in. However, the flip side of that is, without the clouds, we have a great big warm-up on our hands. Average high for this time of year would be about 60 degrees. Boom! Let's throw up some mid-70s up here by the time it's all said and done. Clear as can be, a little bit windier out to the west. We do have red flag warnings for our far western counties of southeast Kansas. But look at this, evening hours up into the 70s, and we're going to be able to repeat that for Thursday as well. Now, Thursday night, that's when it begins to change. Start to see a little pop every now and then by the time we get into Thursday. Now, Thursday is going to be all eyes out to the west, because as we approach sunset on Thursday, starts off scattered variety, but then as we get closer to midnight, we got some heavy rainfall that's going to come down. We'll also have a fair amount of thunder and lightning associated with that as well. Counterclockwise motion, all this out here. I had a long conversation about this yesterday. Upper atmosphere is going to be very, very cold. This right here, our ground's going to be so warm, and even out to the west, we're still looking at temperatures that are well above freezing, 39. That's not bad. That may formulate up there as snow or the wintry mix. By the time it comes down, it doesn't have a chance to stick or really have any effect. A little bit cooler on Friday afternoon, only in the 50s, but then right back into the 60s on Saturday, and a return to the 70s in the middle of the March on Sunday.
All right.
You can pop me up, Tim. I'm happy to be on camera with her.
Well, coming up next, we've got the Tarzan Zerbini Circus under studio.
Wait, can we do this now?
Yes.
Can we do it now? Folks, for those of you that don't know, and I'm going to turn the floor over, Tanya had a dream as a child, and this is not a joke. This is not shtick. This is not some bit that we're doing right now. You actually wanted to do something as a child that probably people don't know about.
Yeah, I wanted to run away and join the circus. Not necessarily run away, but
Right.
that's what, you know.
But you wanted to do that as part of the
Yeah.
lifestyle.
And like if you asked what I would do in the circus, because I'm not like gonna get up there on the high wire or anything like that. I might do something with motorcycles, that would have been fun. Or riding the elephants, playing with the lions. You like how I say playing with the lions?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because they've got all that at the Tarzan Zerbini Circus, and I'm going to take a little deeper dive into your childhood dream and kind of have somebody that has actually been through it, put that into perspective about what that's like.
Mm-hmm. What is it like to run away to the circus?
Right.
His name is Joe.
And we love him. We love Joe Bauer.
All right, you don't want to miss this interview. But first, more young people are having strokes. We're going to show you the signs and the symptoms so you know what to look out for. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
When searching for your
Learn how.
When it comes to sleep, it's quality over quantity and a possible new way to detect Lyme disease. Elise Preston has some of the day's top health stories.
Researchers at Tufts University School of Medicine have discovered a test to identify Lyme disease sooner. They say their test can also show when people are cured and diagnose reinfection of disease. Lyme spreads from the bite of an infected tick. The test detects an antibody that infected people produce to fight the disease. Doctors hope the new test will help better determine whether treatments are working. A new study at UC San Francisco finds people with certain genes can pack all the benefits of a full night's sleep into just 4 to 6 hours. Researchers say these so-called elite sleepers may also have a shield against neurodegenerative disease. Scientists have identified 5 genes that play a role in efficient sleep and say those genes are usually hereditary. And long-term exposure to air pollution increases the risk of numerous autoimmune diseases. Research published in the online journal RMD Open found pollution from vehicles and industry is linked to rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, and other autoimmune issues. That's a look at some of the day's top health stories. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Model Hailey Bieber is now home after being hospitalized last week for stroke-like symptoms. Strokes are affecting more people 49 and younger, and that's according to the American Heart Association. Mandy Gaither has more on how to lower risk and the signs you need to look out for.
Hailey Bieber called it one of the scariest moments, being hospitalized after having symptoms of a stroke. Thankfully, she says she recovered completely within a few hours.
Only about 10% of strokes occur in people less than 50 years of age, so it's probably not on their radar screen.
While strokes in younger people aren't common, the president of the American Heart Association says the numbers are trending up.
People are heavier at younger ages, and that means they have more risk factors for stroke, including things like higher blood pressure and diabetes. Smoking is always a risk factor for stroke.
When it comes to a stroke, getting care as quickly as possible is crucial, and one word can help you remember and identify symptoms.
It's called FAST, F-A-S-T. The F stands for facial drooping. So if one side of your face is suddenly drooping, pay attention. The A stands for arm or leg weakness on one side. The S stands for speech difficulty. And the T means time to call 911.
Young people should also know their numbers, talk to their doctor about blood pressure, blood sugar, and blood cholesterol, which are all things that can contribute to stroke risk, and make a plan to control those if need be.
You can also lower your risk for all sorts of health issues by staying at a healthy weight, being active, eating healthy, and by not smoking. Well, the Iditarod has a new champion. Brent Sass crossed the finish line Tuesday in Alaska's best-known long-distance dog sled race. He hugged his team of 11 dogs after winning his first Iditarod title. It took them 8 days, 14 hours, 38 minutes, and 43 seconds to complete the trail. That's the 3rd fastest time ever. Sass also beat out defending champion Dallas Seavey by 1 hour and 8 minutes. Minnesota-born Musher was one of this year's favorites after finishing 3rd in 2021. Man, we're talking about lifelong dreams today,
right.
Michael, and that's bucket list mine. Do a little dog sled racing someday.
So folks, this is also a truth. We're not making this stuff up.
I do not want to compete in the actual Iditarod. I just want to mush.
And I always like to tell a great story that Joe Reddington, the father of the modern day Iditarod, is from Oklahoma.
Yes.
Yeah. He is not but 90 miles from where I stand right now. And he is the father of the modern day Iditarod. Isn't that something else? I'll tell you a quick little story, Tanya. So as I'm up there, and there's a statue of Joe Reddington, right where they keep all the dogs and whatnot. And I'm reading about this gentleman who I was not familiar with. And I look at the woman next to me and I go, he's from Oklahoma? And she said, yes, where are you from? I said, well, I'm from a little town that's like right on the state line of Missouri and Kansas and Oklahoma. And I told her, and she said, well, yeah, when we go visit family, we go through there. And I said, ma'am, who are you? Joe Lettington's granddaughter.
Who would have thought, right?
Hey, speaking of circus and speaking of Iditarod and great things that Tanya would like to do, we're going to dive into that a little bit more because we got a special guest, Joe Bauer, coming up from the Tarzan Zerbini Family Circus in Studio M right after this. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. For those of you that have joined us here on the KOAM News at noon, you will notice that this man is no stranger to the show. He's a good friend of the KOAM News, Joseph Bauer.
Good
Joe
morning.
Bauer, he
How
is
are
the
ya?
ringmaster of the Tarzan Zerbini Family Circus back in town at Webb City, 1899 South Madison in Webb City. Doesn't matter, like I've said, if you call it Madison, if you call it Rangeline, you can't miss you can't miss the tent. Joe, you and I were catching up on Friday, and we were talking about the increase of crowds that you're now slowly seeing over the past 2 years, where performances were canceled permanently.
Yeah.
How'd the weekend go? What's the
It
feel?
went great. It went great. People are coming out. The performances, the weather worked for us, and just on Friday we had a little issue there.
Right.
But tickets were able to be redeemed at any performance, and now it's all straight up from there. It was picking up really good.
And we've got the performances coming up this week as well.
Yep.
Now, if I had a ticket for Friday, am I still good?
Absolutely.
Okay, so folks, remember
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
So here we go. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you had one of those tickets when we were talking to Joe last, which was on Friday, and the weather, Mother Nature got in our way. But once again, those tickets are redeemable for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Joe, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is you are a performer at heart, and you've been performing with this circus for some time.
Yeah.
Yet, you're also the ringmaster,
Right.
and you tell a marvelous backstory about that transition. Now, I want to point it out, Joe still performs.
Right.
He's still a performer, so he's changing wardrobes and doing it. But if you could, again, tell me that story about the transition when Tarzan came to you and said, Joe, I have an opportunity for you.
Well, it all began about 35 years ago. I was performing in the circus, doing various acts, and we had a ringmaster on the show. And our ringmaster couldn't make it to one of our performances, and he came up to me and said, you need to do this. We can't let the circus down. The show must go on.
The show must go on.
So I was, okay, I jumped in right there and started introducing all the acts, and it just stayed from there, and I've been doing it ever since.
Showman from heart, I would have to ask you this. Do you enjoy the ringmaster role, or do you enjoy the performance that you put on during the show more? Because I know that
they're
it's
totally
apples and oranges.
different. Yeah, they're totally different feelings. I would have to say being the host of the show is also something very special for me because I love to look at the audience. I love to see the kids' reaction to what we're presenting. At the same time, I enjoy it when I'm performing in front of them. So it's pretty equal. I would have to say it's pretty equal.
When you see some of the kids that are coming out, and this is something that's kind of lost on me perhaps because I forget that for many of these kids, they've been stuck inside for 2.5 years. This is probably their first circus.
Absolutely.
What does it mean, not only to you, but all the performers of the Tarzan Zerbini Family Circus, when you see those little kids out there?
Oh, it's awesome. We had many people this weekend come out and bring their kid to take a picture with me or some of the other artists and say this is their first circus. And that is just so special because they got so many to see in their life. You know, we're the oldest form of family entertainment.
Isn't that crazy?
We're older than baseball. So everybody, I've had people come and say, I haven't been to a circus in 40 years, and some are coming for the very first time. So I think it's such a special form of entertainment that has never been censored. You know, it's for children of all ages, right? So it's great.
And so
it's
once
fabulous.
Once again, we're running Thursday through Sunday, Tarzan Zerbini Family Circus, 1899 South Madison. If you're in and around right there where Webb and Joplin meet, you cannot miss the tent. I want to, you talk about it being the oldest form of entertainment. I want to ask you something. Do you ever have to take a step back? Because you're so involved in the day-to-day operations. People don't understand it.
Right.
How much Joe just doesn't show up and, put on a microphone and talk. There's so much behind the scenes that goes on. Is it hard to sometimes take a 50,000-foot view and realize how important family entertainment is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you ever take that time as a group to reflect on that?
Absolutely. I mean, today the world is so different, and getting kids to put their phones down and not be just Googling and FaceTiming and seeing something live, like the circus. That's the great magic of the circus, is that every performance is a little different. It's live entertainment. There's no gimmicks. It's all real. So yeah, I think it puts your feet back on the ground.
Okay, for those of you who have never seen Joe perform before, what he does will actually put your heart in your stomach, or your heart in your throat, because especially when he puts on the blindfold, and I'm not going to give away all of Joe's tricks here, but he's a marvelous performer. But I'm going to ask you to keep your ringmaster suit on here.
Okay.
Coming off of this weekend, is there any new tricks, any new events, any new animals that you kind of heard oohs and ahs from the crowd from?
We have a lot of new things, and those are all the surprises in the show.
I know. I was hedging.
We have a juggler that's on our show. TJ Howell does 2 acts in the show. But what a lot of people don't know is that his mother, 90-year-old mother, was just on America's Got Talent, and his son drove her through 7 walls of fire. And I mean, we have acts like that. We have also a flying trapeze family that represents 7 generations. There's 6 people that are flying through the air, the Flying Cortez, and they open our show now.
And how do you
they blow you away.
And how do you close the show?
Well, we close the show with a surprise. I can't give it away.
Oh, okay. Let's just say the way they close the show.
There's all the ingredients of a great circus.
Yeah, I was talking to Joe last week. I don't even know how they train for some of this stuff. Hey, I got to ask you a big favor, and this is I'm dead serious when I say this. Tanya has always wanted to join the circus.
Okay.
I don't want her to leave. Okay. So,
all right.
But would you mind coming back and kind of talking about what it's like from a personal family aspect to be a part of a circus?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for that.
Love to.
Okay, Joe Bauer, he is the ringmaster of the Tarzan Zerbini Family Circus. And once again, we're going to run performances from Thursday all the way to Sunday. You can get your tickets online. And remember, if you have a ticket from Friday when inclement weather canceled that show, it is good all through this weekend. Joe, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You get to give Tanya the lowdown, but I can't wait for it. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Indigo Sky.
It's time to honor today's 4-state hero, Frank Charles. Private First Class Charles served with the Army from 1942 to 1944. He served in Anzio Beach, Italy, with the Machine Gun Infantry Squad. He earned 3 Bronze Stars and the Purple Heart during his service. His hometown, Parsons, Kansas. We thank you, today's 4-state hero, Frank Charles. A Missouri man diagnosed with a liver disease decided to live for the moment while at the hospital. He proposed and married his girlfriend of almost 3 decades on the same day while sitting on a hospital bed. Alan Shope has their story.
Been wanting to do it, but we just never got the chance.
For Sammy Ramadan, there's no time like the present.
I've treated her as a wife since I met her.
It was a liver disease diagnosis that he wasn't expecting. But Sammy says, why worry about the bad stuff? So after yesterday's diagnosis, he asked his girlfriend Mary, of nearly 26 years, to marry him.
We always loved each other.
Not in a year, not in a month, not even in a week. Today.
She knows how much I care for her.
Do you, Sammy, take Mary to be your wife?
So the St. Luke staff made it happen. They got a chaplain, the couple found a ring, and from a hospital bed on the plaza, they became husband and wife.
So say, I do.
His illness came up all of a sudden, you know. Still can't believe it.
Sammy says his message to other couples.
Work as a team.
And while the ring is new, the couple says their love has never wavered.
To be honest with you, I've been married all my life. Now I just... Now I got a license.
And they get to eat their hospital jello together. Hospital went the extra mile to make the couple feel special. Along with providing the chaplain, they brought in an audience, cards, and a wedding cake. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Well, you know, one interview isn't enough time to spend with the Tarzan Zerbini Circus, so we've got them coming back in our Studio M in our next half hour. And yesterday, President Biden signs the Violence Against Women Act. We're going to tell you what this means for survivors of sexual assault. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:34. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Coffeyville, Kansas Police Department has found the person of interest in the shooting death of a minor. Police say the shooting happened on Sunday on North Walnut Street. The victim from Chanute was found with gunshot wounds and was taken to a hospital where that victim later died. Authorities have located and have in custody the 19-year-old Traven Hayes Smith of Coffeyville and are treating them as a person of interest in the case. Missouri Southern is again offering help to people filing their taxes. The Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program will help qualified individuals and families file on 3 dates over the next month. To qualify, you must make less than $58,000 per year. Appointments are required and will take place this Saturday, March 19th, April 2nd, and April 16th at the Leggett and Platts Center. And people are asked to bring photo ID, Social Security cards, and necessary tax forms, including 2020 tax return. Well, the actor Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson inspires his Instagram fans to indulge on those cheat days. The former wrestler inspires many people with his words of wisdom and fitness regimes. But now he's trying to remind people to take a break from their diets and enjoy some delicious food. The Rock has been posting some cheat day meals to his Instagram, showing off double cheeseburgers with bacon, French toast with mounds of butter and whipped cream, and sushi. Most recently, the actor posted his breakfast of champions, an overflowing plate filled with eggs, steak, peanut butter, and jelly muffins and oatmeal. Oh my goodness.
Give me Bob's Grill any day of the week. No offense, Rock. Bob's Grill knows how to cook it. Live look outside of Television City, the fog being of utmost importance so far on this Wednesday because our visibility numbers have continued to decrease, especially in the central portion of the 4 states, really right along the state line right there, but still below 3 miles in Miami as well. Our temperatures, we're about to begin a nice little warm up that's going to take us from mid-30s and 40s all the way into the 70s for this afternoon. Repeat performance Thursday afternoon, and then thunderstorms coming up Thursday night into Friday morning. Back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 and the return of one Joseph Bauer right after this.
Welcome back. We are joined here again this morning by the one and only Mr. Joseph Bauer here with the Tarzan Zerbini Circus. And yes, I have his hat.
Perfect. Boy, you wear it well.
Thank you. Well, you know, I've always had this dream of running off to the circus and just giving me a piece of that right here.
All right.
You, of course, are the ringmaster for
That's
the
right.
Tarzan Zerbini Circus. But circus has always been in your family, and you haven't always been the ringmaster.
No, I'm celebrating my 50th year in the circus. I started, the very first time I did anything in front of an audience was in Japan. My family had a contract to go to a park in Japan and do our aerial stunts, and I was just a little guy, and they asked, what can he do? What about him? So my dad put his arm out, and I did a handstand on his arm. And that was the end of the show, and that was my first appearance. So it's been in our family for 8 generations.
For 8 generations, and you started in Switzerland, you were telling me.
Right, my family came to the United States in 1954 with Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus, and from Switzerland. And then we made our life in Florida, bought a house there, and you know, my family became American citizens immediately, and loved it. Been traveling all over.
That's amazing. You were saying 8 generations, and your family's actually owned circuses themselves.
Right. They still have circuses traveling in Europe right now, and it's a beautiful thing. Now my daughter and my son are the 9th, and my niece Erica Zerbini, who you will see in the show with her Liberty horses, she's also the 9th generation of our family. So it's moving on.
That is so impressive, and it's. Your kids, do they do an act in this circus, or they
Not
have
in
the
this
past?
circus. Yeah, my niece is in the show. My daughter has in the past. My son is in school in Florida. So right now it's, you know, everybody's all over doing different venues and different things.
Now, from what I understand, it's pretty common for families to travel together and to do circus acts together.
Yeah, very much so. Like the family everybody will see in Tarzan Zerbini Circus. So is the Flying Cortez. Also are a family that are multi-generations, and their kids are in the Flying Trapeze Act, and the youngest one is 9. So you'll get to see them as well, and you'll see the generations, and it's a very important part, and it's special to any parent to have your child carry on the family tradition.
Okay, so you've talked about how, kind of being born into the circus can happen, but if there was somebody like myself that wanted to get into it, how would you get started? How would that even work?
Believe it or not, now there's over 300 circus schools all over North America.
Really?
Yeah. And so there are circus schools out there. If somebody would like to Google it and find out, you can go to a school and get trained by a professional artist, and it's always possible. Cirque du Soleil has great circus schools. The oldest one is where I come from, down in Sarasota, Florida, is the Circus Arts Conservatory. And there's the Sailor Circus there that's actually a part of your school program. It's a part of the high school. You can take circus arts. And so they're out there. The dream is there.
Well, there you go. Let's talk about the dream this weekend. We have 7 shows, I think, still to go.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have a show at 7:30 on Thursday, 7:30 on Friday. And then we are 12, 4, and 7:30 on Saturday, and 1 and 5 on Sunday. So you've got plenty of opportunities to come out and see the big circus.
See what Life Under the Big Top is all about.
That's right.
And of course, if you had tickets for last Friday's show, you can still use them any day this week.
Any performance that, if you had a ticket for Friday, just go right over to the box office and turn in your ticket for any one of the shows.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Thank you for
having me. You guys
me.
have a great performance all weekend long. And we'll have you back again next year, I'm sure.
Come on out. It's
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see the elephants. We'll be right back.
Prices kept rising in February. Another key inflation gauge soaring and hitting double digits. It's the U.S. Producer Price Index. It tracks what America's producers get paid for their goods and services on average. Now, the U.S. government says it rose 10% for the 12-month period that ended in February, and that's not even adjusted for seasonal swings. Meanwhile, for January, 12-month price inflation was revised up to, you guessed it, double digits, 10%. First time the index hit double digits since the data series began back in 2010. Over the 1-month time span, the adjusted for seasonality producer price rose 0.8% in February alone. You know by now that we've got a big problem with inflation in the U.S. as the price for just about everything continues to go up. But on top of that, the amount you get in some packaged products, get this, is going down. It's called shrinkflation. In addition to charging more these days, companies may also shrink the packaging or put less product in it. A few examples are snack foods like Doritos. A Frito-Lay spokesperson told the news outlet Quartz that the company took a few chips out of each bag in order to keep the price the same. The company reportedly confirmed it's reducing the weight of the bags by half an ounce. You can expect fewer wheat thins in a box as well. Representative for parent company Mondelez saying the family-sized box is now 14 ounces instead of 16 ounces. Now, take this into account. Wheat thins don't weigh a lot. That's 2 ounces of crackers that we're all missing. Now, when I say Starbucks cup, you know exactly what it looks like. Not necessarily a good thing, evidently, as these cups are recyclable, but that does not mean they always end up getting recycled. Company's chief sustainability office calls it a, quote, ubiquitous symbol of throwaway society. So here's Starbucks' plan. By 2025, the company wants every customer to be able to either use their own mug or borrow a ceramic or reusable to-go mug. Now, that does not mean the paper and plastic cups are going to go away for good, but you can certainly expect to see Starbucks pushing a new Borrow a Cup program. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, a look at our market prices before the opening bell. A years-long fight for better access to care for rape victims becomes law. President Biden signed the Violence Against Women Act, which includes provisions of a bipartisan bill for victims of sexual assault. Natalie Brand introduces us to a survivor who fought for national change.
To change the system. I saw a system that had failed me at every level, from the hospital to the police to the prosecutors.
Leah Griffin of Seattle has fought for change for survivors of sexual assault ever since her rape in 2014.
I went to the closest emergency room, told them what happened. They shrugged their shoulders and said, "We don't do rape kits here." Hours later, I was able to get a rape kit at a different hospital across the city, but the delay in care caused a catastrophic series of failures in my case, and I never got justice.
But now she's received justice of a different kind.
Thank you.
New law, signed Tuesday, develops national standards of care and a federal grant program incentivizing hospitals to train specialized nurses known as sexual assault forensic examiners.
My goal is that every hospital in this country, urban, rural, anywhere, will have someone who is trained as a sane nurse to be able to help a victim of sexual assault, be able to process the evidence that they need.
Washington Senator Patty Murray crafted the bipartisan legislation after hearing about Griffin's case and discovering the problem was widespread.
I was stunned at how many hospitals and healthcare providers did not have someone trained to be able to do this work.
The new bill will help uncover where gaps remain.
To finally see it across the finish line is the accomplishment of a lifetime.
With the ultimate goal of making sure what happened to Griffin doesn't happen to anyone else. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Alaska Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski co-sponsored this legislation. In some parts of her state, oh my goodness, I apologize, folks, it requires a plane trip for sexual assault victims to receive necessary care. Wow, that just came and got me right there. It's what happens when we have somebody down in studio trying to get like video of me, like, you know, doing my job and whatnot. I get all choked up. Happens very easily. Here we go, live look outside of Television City as the fog really hasn't receded that much. Of course, we get into the metropolitan areas of Joplin. We're good to go over 7th and Rangeline, 46 degrees. That's humidity. That's the reason we have that fog so high right now, up at 89%. Our visibility numbers have really decreased right along this line. Look at Welch and Miami, now down to 0. Oswego dropping below than a mile. Parsons, less than 2 miles. You work out to the east, fog does get a little better, but one of those things where our numbers have steadily decreased, and we need that sun to start taking effect and burning it off. But you have to remember, sunrise was at 7:27, so we're not actually a full 30 minutes into it yet, and that's number one, why the fog remains. Number two, why our temperatures really haven't had much of a warm-up as of yet, but without any cloud cover, this is going to happen, and it's going to happen fast. Do want to point out red flag warnings for the western portion of southeast Kansas. We're going to run those all the way through this evening. That's going to be about 40-mile-an-hour winds the farther west that you go, combined with humidity that's going to drop as low as 20%. And it's kind of an upside-down L, if you will, as it jaunts down all the way south of the Red River into portions of north central Texas. Skywatch Storm Tracker going to keep the thunderstorm activity for our Wednesday down to the southeastern portion of the United States. You can see the warm bubble right there with the trough. Everything for us remains on the clear side until we get into Thursday. Now, Thursday afternoon is almost going to be a repeat of this afternoon. Temperatures up into the 70s with a whole bunch of sunshine. Then watch everything formulate out to our west right here. It'll be Thursday afternoon when we start to pay attention to it, and then Thursday night into Friday morning, it is upon us. Not only the rain, anywhere from 1.5 inches, see pockets of 2 inches, but cooler temperatures as well. Nice little rebound on Saturday and Sunday, 60s and 70s for the weekend. Be back right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to address Congress over video this morning. He's expected to call for more fighter jets and a no-fly zone over Ukraine to counter the Russian air assault. The Biden administration has said a no-fly zone could escalate conflict with Russia. Next week, President Biden travels to Brussels to meet with NATO allies to discuss the war. The White House announced that second gentleman Doug Emhoff has tested positive for COVID-19. Vice President Kamala Harris tweeted that her husband is doing fine. Harris said she has tested negative and will continue to be tested. Washington, D.C. police arrested a suspect in the shootings of homeless people asleep on the streets of the nation's capital and in New York City. Police say 30-year-old Gerald Brevard shot at least 3 homeless men in D.C. earlier this month, killing one of them, and then over the weekend shot 2 homeless men in New York. Let's check in with Michael with the final look at your forecast.
Enjoy delightful March weather, sunny skies, and temperatures in the 70s for both Wednesday and Thursday. I thought you were going to do Eiffel Tower. My bad. Stay tuned tomorrow. We'll call it a deep tease. How about that?
Exciting news.
I don't even know what it's about. It just says Eiffel Tower. I get excited about the Eiffel Tower, and I don't know why. I've never been there.
As long as it's not leaning like the Tower of Pisa.
I hope not.
Then we can get worried.
Well, we may have a different story on our hands then. Thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.